Look, let's start off with the Tottenham-Man United match preview. Big game this weekend. They're dubbing it the El Sacico, but you know, I don't think Nuno's anywhere near the sack, but Oli definitely is, in my opinion. How do you assess this game coming into it? How difficult is it going to be, and how up for it are Man United going to be for this one?
Well, Varane looks like he's going to be fit. So that's
is he fit to play, or is he just back in training?
He's back in training, but you know, with Varane, he's one of those players. I get the feeling that if he can get fit very quickly, and he's been top of his game for so long, so I reckon there's a good chance he comes straight back in. Rafael Varane, although they made that mistake with Maguire, didn't they? And put him in before he was ready, and he had a bit of a disaster against Leicester.
Yeah.
But look, I think Man United are going to want to, even if Ollie's in his last days, it still doesn't make this specific game any easier, in my opinion, because I don't think the players disrespect Ollie or are down tools on Ollie. I think Ollie has gone as far as he can when it goes to managing the group of players in terms of his actual ability as a top class manager to manage like big egos and things like that. But I think they all want to try hard for him. They all want to get the result for him. I just think against well-drilled sides like Liverpool, who are so good in the way they play, and they're so precise in exactly where everyone is and how intense they are pressing and exactly where everyone is moving forward in the forward line, stuff like that. Man United can't compete with that, but against us, they can. That's just the reality. They are going to be able to compete with what we can offer, unless we've dramatically improved our performance in the last week. Well, they are going to be able to compete with what we have, and as long as they're on a level playing field with us on a tactical level, they've got much better players, and that's just the truth. So it's going to be a very, very difficult game. I think that they're going to also want to I'm not saying that they want to give like Ollie one last good result, but they want to try and fight for him a bit, I feel.
They always do. I mean, how many times has he been on the brink of a sack and then they just turn it around and get a good result? I mean, they pull it out the bag. It happens time and time again with Manchester United. So I'm not reading too much into this Ollie business at the moment because...
No, I think it's different now. I think they are... They might well be on the brink.
You're saying it's different, but you're still saying they can still pull a result out. You're still saying...
Yeah, against us. But I think it might well be that they get a result against us and go on another bad run against better drilled teams. Like they got Man City the following week. If they get heavily beaten again, which they might well do, then he really could be gone. But I think Spurs is probably a good game for them right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, Spurs is a good game for anyone right now.
Yeah, we're very easy to play against. We're very easy to defend against. We play everything in front of you. We're decent in transition, but if you don't get caught, it's very hard for us to create chances.
What I was saying is I'm not reading too much on this Ollie stuff because I don't really care what happens after this game. I'm just talking about this game. I really don't care what happens after this game with Manchester United. It doesn't make a difference to my life. But in terms of this game, there's nothing to read into the Ollie situation for me. And I think that they're definitely going to put out a performance. You saw Ronaldo put out that post after the Liverpool game, and all I read from that is saying that I'm going to come out and batter Tottenham. Rashford has also come out on social media and was talking about how embarrassed he was on the weekend. So they're all going to want to turn this around just for themselves. Never mind the manager. They want to do it for themselves and the football club at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was an embarrassment last week. Absolute embarrassment. It wasn't just the defeat, but also the conduct of the players and stuff like that. You know, they could have had about 3 red cards. They just completely fell apart.
Should have had 3 red cards.
Yeah, they were lucky on a lot of levels. So I think they're definitely going to look for a response. And the thing is, they have the players for a response. That's just the truth. So I'm definitely going to envisage a much better Man United performance, and we're going to have to up our game massively if we're going to get a result in this game. They're a good team. Like in terms of individuals, they got great individuals. That's our predicted lineup. You know, Pogba obviously is suspended. Varane and Martial having
Pogba suspended is a big one for me because he always performs against us, Pogba. Yes
and no. It's a big one because they lose that bit of creativity in the middle for sure. But if they're going to play Fred and McTominay or Matic and McTominay, it just makes them like as much as Pogba is a massive miss for them going forward. Going the other way, he's a bit of a liability, and we usually exploit that. We have in the past exploited that.
Yeah, how many times has he hurt us down the other end?
Yeah, a few times.
Quite a few times, The one that really sticks to mind is that time when we had quite a good game, and he just completely, what was it, Eric Dyer? He completely did Eric Dyer in the box.
That was first game after lockdown.
Yeah, that was it. And we weren't playing even that bad that game, and Pogba just tore us a new one.
He came off the bench and did it.
It was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's true. But I feel like as well with Fred and McTominay, they're going to be very combative. It's going to be very hard to break them down when they get in shape.
We've got our own combative midfielders in Skip and Højbjerg as well.
No, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about going forward, how we're going to exploit them. Yeah. And it's going to be harder to do that with Fred and McTominay.
I get that, but in terms of the midfield battle, let's say Matic and McTominay against Skip and Højbjerg, I think we got the upper hand there.
If it's Matic or if it's Fred, do we have the upper hand if it's Skip and Højbjerg? I think it's minimal. I think it might be slightly better, but I don't think it's like that much where it's going to completely counterbalance what United, the forward players, have. They've got such. I think compared to us in terms of going forward, they've got much superior quality. Unfortunately, that's just my feeling. At the moment, I think we've got.
If Harry Kane's playing the way he's playing at the moment, that's definitely true.
Yeah, but just the strength in depth as well. Sancho to come off the bench. You know what I mean? They really have serious abilities. Rashford as well has been scoring, hasn't he?
2 goals in I think 3 games since he's come back.
Yeah, so he looks in decent nick, and Ronaldo's he was the one. Even though he nearly got sent off against Liverpool, he looked angry
this weekend.
He looked angry, and they're going to be on it. So we have to make sure, just like I've said against West Ham and against Arsenal, that we match their intensity, because they're going to be super intense. I'm sure of it. I'm so sure of it, and it's going to be very difficult to deal with. Yeah. And they have the players to cope with that, and we have to make sure tactically we're on top of our game. And whether we're ready for that, I don't know. I hope we don't go into this game thinking that we're playing a depleted Man United side who we should be licking our lips kind of thing, thinking that we could easily get a result because it's Man United.
If they do think like that, then they think that we're much better than we actually are, because we're struggling against everyone at the moment. Never mind a Man United side who's got something to prove this weekend. We struggled. I mean, we didn't struggle that much, but we struggled to get it past Burnley a few nights ago at Turf Moor. So we need to go into this game with the right mentality. And if we do go in with the right mentality, I think we can get something from it. I do believe that. But but at the end of the day, Man United, like I said, they've got something to prove massively this weekend, and they've got a lot of star quality in that team. So it does worry me. But if you look at the form for these two teams coming into it, I mean, it's not too dissimilar. We've won actually more games in the last 5 games than Man United. Wow. We've scored 1 more than them.
We are above Man United, to be fair.
Yeah, and we've scored 1 more than them, and we've conceded 2 less than them as well. So we are slightly on better form, but it's just clutching at straws a little bit.
Yeah, there's
still 3 losses each in the last 5 games.
Yeah, there's not much in it, and look, Man United haven't been playing well. I've watched a lot of their games against Leicester. They started the game well, but then completely capitulated in the second half against Atalanta. They were 2-0 down, had to turn it around again, and were quite lucky. To be fair, they did turn it around impressively, but they should have been out of sight in that game against Everton. I thought they were so poor; they should have lost that game. They should have lost that game against Everton. Everton were the ones creating better chances, and that was out Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. Against Aston Villa, they lost 1-0. They missed a last-minute penalty, but by and large, it was second best again.
Aston Villa loss looks like a really bad result now, seeing as the runs they've had.
They've lost every game since, yeah. So, Villa, I thought, were really poor. Sorry, I've been poor, but they were really poor against Villa, I mean, in that game. Obviously, in between that as well, they lost to West Ham in the Cup, and they also just about beat West Ham thanks to a last-minute penalty save from De Gea. So that was the last time they won. That was a while ago now. So that was the same day we played Chelsea, I believe. So that was a while ago. So they really have been on wretched form. But I think that Liverpool result might have been a kind of, not a turning point, but sometimes you get those games where it forces you into a rethink.
Yeah, and especially when you got Ronaldo in that dressing room as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I expect a different Man United on this weekend. 100% I expect a different Man United.
I completely agree. And the form between the two sides is not great reading for Spurs fans. Obviously 3 losses in our last 5, 1 win and 1 draw.
Or you could say
and that 1 win being 6-1. Unbelievable.
True. Or you could say only lost 1 of our last 3.
Yeah, you could say that.
Could say that.
We've lost 3 of our last 5.
We lost 3 of our last 5, yeah. Not horrific, but not the best. Not great either.
It's fairly horrific. 1 win in 5.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's horrific. 2 a draw, a win, and 3 losses. It's not good. But Man United are a good team, so it's not that unexpected. To be fair, I think that when looking at those games, remember that one January 2019. I think De Gea set a record, didn't he, for like most saves in a game or something? He was had a mad
I think
game,
probably the top 3 or 4 records in the Premier League of most saves in a game is all against Tottenham.
All against Tottenham. I just feel
Tim
like
Krul, David De Gea, and all that. But that game that David De Gea broke that record. In my opinion, it was nothing to do with David De Gea that game. All the shots were so poor. Our finishing was so poor that day.
Yeah. I remember we should have had so many more goals, though. It was terrible. What was I going to say? I feel like that result against Liverpool is actually probably bad for us, the fact that they got battered so hard.
We'll see how it plays out.
If it was like a narrow defeat and there were more in the game, then at least like they might have gone with the same approach against us and maybe got turned over a bit. But now they're kind of forced into a massive rethink, and it's like a massive shock to the system. And when you have a heavy defeat like that, it forces you into changes.
There's a few ways you can look at it. I mean, that's definitely one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is being like completely dejected and maybe there is no way back under Oli. There's that way of looking at it. There's a way of looking at it saying that if they would have just got beaten, that there's a good formula there. And if you're just getting beaten like that by Liverpool, then using the same system that you can probably beat Tottenham using it then. There's a few different ways you can.
No, not just getting beaten in terms of performance. I mean, like result. For example, if Liverpool like missed all their chances but only scored 2 of them, you know what I mean? And they could have lost them all, but they only lost 2-0. Then it maybe we know. I think okay, we lost 2-0 to Liverpool, but maybe we can go again with the same system. Mm-hmm. But because they got battered 5 and they scored all their chances, Liverpool, they can't. Go with a similar approach. I reckon because under Oli they played their best football when they're on the counter attack. They didn't do that on Sunday against Liverpool for God knows what reason. Yeah. And I worry that if they do that against Spurs, it could be a very good formula for them to get joy, because we could struggle with that. In terms of matchups, when you got like Romero up against Ronaldo, I back Romero in that fight. I really do. As much as Ronaldo is obviously one of the best players ever to play the game, and I don't think he's been terrible for Man United this season, despite a few struggles for a player of his standards. I think Romero, with his aggression and his lack of giving a crap, basically, about who the player is coming up against, and his ability to step in front of the strikers and his anticipation, I think he could be the best defender to face Ronaldo right now. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. The only thing I worry about is his partner.
But the thing is, with Romero, with the nature of how he plays the game, mistakes can be very close by. And if he does make one of those mistakes against Ronaldo, he's going to be there to polish it off. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't make mistakes against Cristiano Ronaldo because he'll punish you for them.
Correct, but on the flip side, if it was like Davinson Sanchez who would just stand off Ronaldo every time, that's a lot less effective.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with that. I'd rather Romero on Ronaldo than any other.
I'm talking about I'm not talking about the quality. I'm talking about approaches and how I'm saying, it risks a mistake, but at least you're constricting him
risk versus reward. You know what I mean?
At least you're constricting Ronaldo to maybe getting the ball running at you only once or twice a game rather than 5, 6, 7 times a game.
You limit him to 1 goal instead of 3.
Yeah, basically, like that's just what it is. You might make a mistake, but he'll make 1 mistake or 2 mistakes out of 10 times, whereas Sanchez will make 0 mistakes when in terms of anticipation and challenging for the ball, but he's going to have Ronaldo running at him 4, 5, 6 times a game, whereas Romero maybe will only have Ronaldo running at him once or twice a game, and that will limit him. And that's exactly what we need.
Completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, but as you say, what worries us is the guy next to him, Eric Dyer. Most probably Eric Dyer anyway. And with Eric Dyer, you know, a mistake can happen at any time. A penalty can be given away at any time. Anything can happen at any time with Eric Dyer. Really.
And also, what I do worry about is Romero and Dyer are very good, are decent, are good defenders, but in the air, are they the most dominant? I don't think they're like massive liabilities, and I think against most strikers in the league, they could definitely be aerially dominant. But when you're coming up against Ronaldo with his leap, I do worry a bit that he will get one. If we allow crosses into the box, he will get a couple opportunities from a header, because that's where I think Romero, as much as he's really good at anticipation.
Worry about any defender in the Premier League in that sense, pretty much.
Yeah, correct. But when you've got, like, for example, okay, I know they're on the same team, but like Harry Maguire, I wouldn't worry about Maguire winning a header against Ronaldo. I reckon he can do it. But Romero is not. He's not the most aerially dominant defender. So if Ronaldo does get a run on him and they are getting crosses in the box, I do worry he might get one or two opportunities.
To be fair, Dyer's not bad aerially.
Yeah, he's good.
He's got a good aerial
No, he's
presence.
good, Dyer. Dyer is good, but up against Ronaldo, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But yeah, what you're saying about, I mean, I would even worry about Maguire coming up against a header with Ronaldo. I think.
Look, Ronaldo can win a header against anyone.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's one thing. Ronaldo obviously can win a header against anyone, but there's also winning his ability when your defender isn't the most aerially dominant. I don't like when you compare our centre backs, maybe some of the other centre backs, like, you know, Rudiger and people like that. In the Premier League, we don't have the most aerially imposing ones. Yeah. That's why he might find it a bit easier to win a header against our centre backs and maybe other ones. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I just get that feeling that's what might be his best course of action against Romero. In
terms of where we're going to find joy, or how we can find joy, what's it going to be? Is it just going to be in transitions? Pretty much.
That's what, especially if they play Fred and McTominay, that's the best way we're going to be able to create chances, because they're not the best on the ball. They can be we know they can when you press them, they're not the best technically when it comes to being press resistant and playing out of trouble. Especially Fred, his passing can get very bad if pressure gets too intense. We've seen that. So we're going to have to be super on it in terms of our pressing game and making sure that we're forcing the likes of Fred and McTominay into mistakes. And once we do turn the ball over, getting the ball very soon as possible to Lucas and Son or Kane, and try and create a chance, and Ndombele to try and create a chance in those turnovers. Because once United get settled, especially if Varane's back, you know, Wan-Bissaka, one of the best one-on-one defenders, fullback in the league, Son is going to find it near impossible to beat him unless it's in a transition, I feel. Wan-Bissaka is so good when he's sitting back and there's a settled back line and he's not exposed. He's like near impossible to beat. You can't get around him.
Do you think maybe for this weekend, I know you're probably not going to agree, but maybe for this weekend, you do put a Harry Kane on the bench where he can change things, and have Son playing centrally to get him more effective, and maybe have Bergwijn on the left and Moura on the right?
Yeah, I said actually in the post-match fan show that against this kind of opposition, where if United do play like they did against Liverpool and they look to dominate us possession-wise, it probably would be the best course of action. The only thing is Bergwijn isn't in the best form. If he was in good form, it would be more and more convincing argument. Unfortunately, he's not doing it. So is it, you know, if Bergwijn starts and then I guess he could start, and then he doesn't do it for an hour, you bring on Harry Kane. You could do that, but I mean, I guess it could work, because United could lead in the transitions. If we get the ball quickly to those quick forwards and spring on them, maybe that could be more effective. I guess it's true, and especially with the form Kane's in as well. It's just that would you leave out a player with the caliber of Kane when Bergwijn's not in form? That's the only thing. Unfortunately, if Bergwijn was in form, I'd be more convinced. But at the moment, I can't say it definitely would be the best course of action just because he's not playing that well at the moment. Bergwijn. Yeah, that's just reality.
And it's definitely true. But you know, Harry Kane's not playing well as well. But as well, Harry Kane can pull off something at any time. Can't he?
I'm saying, you know, Kane with that caliber, you just know if he's on his game, you've got a bet. You know what he brings.
Yeah, if he's on his game though.
Yeah. With Bergwijn, even if he's on his game, you don't even know if he's definitely going to get a goal.
Yeah,
or,
but
you
at
know
least
what I mean?
Bergwijn, what he's going to do, he's going to chase down the opponents, he's going to press, and he's going to work hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Harry Kane, you don't know if he's going to do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So I think that maybe in a game like this, it might be worth doing that, where we'll have 3 forwards pressing the hell out of Manchester United and maybe trying to force them into a mistake or something like that. I think that's probably where we would find most joy if we were to play that kind of system.
I understand that. And I think there's probably a lot of validity in terms of the way Man United might play. If they're dominating possession, they've got Fred McTominay there, and then we put them under serious pressure with some quick forward play, then it could definitely hurt Man United 100%, and that's where we look most effective in the transitions. Even in the opening day of the season against City, so the only way we were able to attack them was through the transitions.
And that's actually a point I was going to make in a second. Like, to be fair to Nuno, right? When the big teams have come to the Tottenham Stadium so far this season, Man City and Chelsea, right? Yeah. The Man City game, probably our best performance of the season, played really well. Chelsea game, we started off that game really well. That first half, again, was probably one of our best performances of the season. Albeit Kante came on second half and we completely fell apart and they destroyed us in the second half. But
we're going to have Skip this time.
Yeah, those two games, the first half of Chelsea and the Man City game, probably our best 2 performances of the season.
And to be fair, if we can play a bit like that against Chelsea, like we did against Chelsea without Dele, replacing Dele with Skip, having a bit more of a solid base, and with us, maybe we wouldn't concede such cheap goals that we did at the beginning of the second half. Having taking Dele out. And having not having Lo Celso on the right hand side as well. Do we have Lucas against Chelsea? I can't remember. There was a front three of. We had Son, Kane. I think no Lucas, wasn't it? Was it no Lucas? Because we played Lo Celso on the right. I remember. Am I remembering that wrong? Did we not play Lo Celso on the right hand side?
About to find out
Chelsea. Because remember we played in Ndombele, Lo Celso, Dele. I think it must have been no. Was it no Lucas?
No Lucas.
Yeah, no. Where was Luke? Was he injured? I don't remember that. Was he injured?
Lucas didn't play.
Was he on the bench?
No, he wasn't on the bench.
I don't remember that one. Oh no, he got injured in the Europa League game.
Right.
That one game. Yeah.
Right.
So if we have Lucas on the right in that similar way we played against Chelsea with Lucas on the right, the same front three, Skip instead of Dele, and having Ndombele there. Much better balance, and maybe we could get more joy in that kind of game. So, to be fair, if we do repeat the performance, and also Nuno, not only again for Spurs, but also in his time at Wolves, always had a great
big
record.
Game player.
Always a manager. Always had a great record against
big game player, teams. Not such a small game player.
Not big game, but like big team.
Big team player.
Yeah. Always the big
team against a big team. You know what I mean?
I know, but when we don't know how he is, big games, semi-finals and things like that. You know what I mean? But when Wolves always played the big teams, they always gave them a serious game. It was always a tough one.
Didn't they get to a cup final under Nuno?
They got to a semi-final. They were 2-0 up against Watford and they lost. Right. I remember that one.
And who did they beat? Leicester. Who did they beat in the quarters?
I remember they've beaten
Man United,
Liverpool maybe, and on the way there.
That's what I'm saying. So Nuno does seem to have a knack to playing these bigger sides. And,
he does.
And getting something out of it.
He does, to be fair. Although we did obviously get battered in the end by Chelsea 3-0, but we did give him a game.
But you could see in that first half there was definitely a good nucleus of a team, and there was definitely a clear plan of action that was working for a time.
Yeah.
And then obviously what happened, Kante comes on and we had no one else to bring on pretty much from the bench.
The Kante came on, he just changed the game.
Yeah.
It won them the game pretty much within 10 minutes.
Within seconds.
Within 10 minutes they were 2-0 up and it was game over. Once you're 2-0 down against Chelsea, it's done. That's it, and it was hard to beat. But hopefully we start with the same approach, and if we do have the same approach like we did against City and Chelsea, and we put United under that kind of pressure, I can see them crumbling a bit, to be honest, because their defence at the moment is very much definitely gettable. But if we're not on our game as hard as that, if we're starting like we started the past few games, like taking our time to get into the game and things like that, and to get control, I can see Man United having a fast start and then gaining confidence from that fast start.
Definitely. If it does start to go wrong pretty quickly, I can see it getting very toxic in that stadium on Saturday. Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if it goes well for us, I can see it getting very toxic in the away end dugout. In the away end, not dugout, corner.
Do you think if Ollie loses, this could be it for him?
I think it depends on the manner of the loss, in my opinion. I think if it's a tight loss, it's a good game of football.
Even if it's a tight loss, the form they're in. Like,
I know, but they've been in this kind of form before.
No, I don't know if it's been this bad.
I think there has. It has at certain times. Obviously, last season they had a good season and Ollie wasn't really under pressure. But the season before, they went through periods of really bad form. And people were saying, Ollie's on the brink here, Ollie's on the brink, and then they suddenly turn it around. So I do think Ollie is nearing the end. And I don't think that a loss against Spurs does it. But I think maybe if they lose against Spurs and Man City, maybe that'll do it.
So, yeah. Yeah, I reckon I don't know. I reckon it really could be his last game if things don't go his way this week. I really do, which makes me worried even more about us getting a result. But I think this time is a bit different from what I'm seeing. Before compared to before. I think before they've had patchy form. This is worse than patchy. This is really bad. This is really bad form for a team. And I tell you why it's even worse, because the expectations are more now. They're more than what before. They had patchy form, but the expectations weren't that high. It's just like, okay,
and the squad was nowhere near as good as this.
There's also that, but it's also like, okay, we're in patchy form, but we're only expecting Champions League football. So as long as we go on a good one later on, it'll be fine. But now it's like, okay, we've got Ronaldo, we've got Sancho, Varane. There's no excuse whatsoever not to be in a title charge, and they're pretty much out of the title race already, and that is unacceptable. And if they're falling even further behind now, it's like, well, this has got to be it, I think.
Yeah. All right, just before we move on, what is your score prediction this weekend?
I'm going for 2-2.
2-0.
2-2. I feel like we might catch them a couple times in transitions, and we'll get some chances. I remember. I don't know if you remember this game when Sandro scored that rocket. When we drew 2-2 to Man United. It was under David Moyes. Like, we were playing badly. They weren't playing great under Moyes either. But like, both teams saw it as an opportunity to get points of each other and just ended in a fairly entertaining draw. I have a feeling it might be similar. Something like that.
I was sitting right behind that goal when Sandro scored that. Unbelievable goal that was. It was like from 35 yards.
And Kyle Walker scored a free kick that day.
Yeah.
Under the wall. He hit it under the wall.
Yeah, I remember. So look, this game can go any way literally this weekend. I'm struggling to predict it. I mean, in the Predict the Prem, I said 1-1. But I woke up feeling a bit confident today, so I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs.
Always happens on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Friday is high day, you know what I mean? So I'm going 2-1 to Spurs. I want to know your predictions in the comments as well. But that is our match preview, so thanks for that.